What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a unprompted episode of Nerding Out. Today I have with me Matt again.
Hello.
Hello. We are going to talk about the new Spider-Man trailer that just released for us a day ago. But we've already got some crazy ideas and things like that that we have come up with. Matt specifically on one that I am a very big fan of. But we are going to get into that when we talk about the new trailer breakdown. So, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the trailer and then we're going to break it down for you bit by bit here.
What a powerful, powerful way to reintroduce us to where Peter is in this 4-year span.
You mean in his depressive state of not nobody knowing him or remembering him?
Yeah, yeah. Just I was talking with someone else earlier before we got on chat tonight, about how I believe that shot inside the mask, which is a new perspective than we've seen. And
Oh,
it's so good, but just that you can read every bit of where he's at from that one single powerful shot. He he is clocking in for work and dead inside.
just miserable. And I was going to say the exact same thing starting this off is that one little tiny scene inside of his helmet. You've never seen that before, but you get like a nice little look into his mindset whenever you see that. And he is just like, well, another day, not even another dollar, another punch to the face. Um, Nobody remembers me. I lost the love of my life. My best friend doesn't know me. And then seeing that little bit of them talking about, isn't this the best day of your life? It's like, well, it's not for me, but thanks,
Yeah,
you know.
they're into the dream school that they all wanted to get into. They're starting MIT, and he is starting a four. And we know this just because of like some stuff that have come out about the movie. But like that's the beginning of a 4-year stint of him just being Spider-Man.
By himself. And later on we'll get into it that it does seem like he's made some like relationships along the way, but like he is by himself.
Yeah, in utter solitude. It's very good seeing that he does have some rapport with the Punisher. Like clearly they've crossed paths a few times. Um, it's a highlight of the trailer here because they're obviously on opposing sides. Spider-Man may or may not know who's already inside that tank, which we'll see later on down the road. And he's trying to stop Punisher from killing anybody because that's like kind of against his own code. And Frank does what he wants because he's the goddamn Punisher.
Yeah, it's I do love how like the first thing that you see with them is like you see Punisher going down the street in his big old van that he well not van but the big old truck that he's got, and then you hear him say like, "What the hell, Frank? You nearly hit me." It's like, okay, so we have rapport, and it's like he knows the Punisher already. Where it's like, God, you're always so like over the top.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, and then there's a couple things, and we can definitely break this down a little bit more. But like, I'll need to verify this, but I believe the person giving Spider-Man the key to the city um, is Fisk's aide, like the like his assistant in the Born Again series. I could be wrong about that, but I think that might be it. But also, just in the other shot of Peter, just like holding the key, like this means nothing to him. Like it's an honor to have it, but like where he's at in his life, like what does it actually do for me?
Right. Yeah. So that is actually her, and I have that written down in my notes to have her what her name is. Um, Sheila Rivera, which is the campaign manager for Wilson Fisk. So we do have that little tie-in to Wilson Fisk. We have seen her in the first season of Born Again, and so we have that idea like that she is in that vicinity. So the question is, for that in particular portion, was that before or was that after Fisk? But no matter what, within the 4 years, it's going to be during Fisk.
At some point in time, absolutely. I believe that this is going to be taking place after season 2 of Born Again, just with the timing of everything. But it's very possible that she has taken over mayoral duties. Not to get the whole Born Again discussion again, but like they have stated that this brings an end, like that season will be bringing an end to the Mayor Fisk storyline.
Yeah, and so you're right. It very well could be just like after the Daredevil season 2 bit, where they're picking up the pieces after Fisk and everything has done the damage or whatever he's done.
Yeah.
But she's definitely in there.
Yeah, and there's more to talk about with like some stuff that happens on later on in this trailer. But again, we can get to that here in just a little bit.
And it's about to do one of my favorite parts of this trailer too, like right once I push play, because I love the whole back and forth between them.
Yes. A
Okay.
lot to discuss here.
Yes. First things first here. One, I love the fact that he like has to web Frank Castle's mouth because he's about to do a curse word here. Um,
Yeah.
but the line that got me the most is where he says sometimes, he has to do something as Spider-Man, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Like,
Yeah, that is pure DNA of Spider-Man from when Stan Lee incepted him as a character.
yes, 100%.
That is the definition of a hero. And though Spider-Man may not be my favorite superhero of all time, Spider-Man is the definition of superhero.
Yes. It's like he may not be your favorite. He may not be like someone that you've either watched the movies. Like for me, I got burnt out on Spider Man movies. So when Tom Holland took over, I watched him in Civil War. But then when he had his first two, I didn't watch because I was so burnt out on Spider Man. Tom Holland as a whole is a very good Spider Man, but that in particular line right there, it just encompasses everything that Spider-Man is. It's like it may break Peter Parker's heart, but Spider-Man has to do it because he's a hero.
Yeah, it is for the ultimate greater good of everyone.
With great power comes great responsibility, which is the big line for Spider-Man.
Yes. We obviously see him going through this new phase in his life. He's clearly going from, you know, using web shooting to actually having natural webbing. And as much of the rest of the internet believes, this is definitely him. He's been relying on these natural spider instincts that he's been honing for 4 years. He's becoming more spider than man. So of course the organic webbing is going to happen. His the trailer starts showcasing his evolved strength, his evolved hearing, his evolved senses. He truly is becoming, if we want to say, going from like spectacular to amazing or superior, well, not superior, but I don't think the Marvel universe is going to do superior Spider-Man, but that would be an interesting take. Yeah, depending on how they plan everything else. And then one thing I want to say while we're kind of paused here with the reintroduction of Bruce Banner, obviously not in Hulk form. We've seen that he's been trying to suppress that now that he's trying to let his arm heal. And if anybody watched She-Hulk, he's very much trying to stay kind of more Banner than Hulk now. Is it safe for him to be teaching quantum mechanics to to people? This man knows time travel. This is how you get more supervillains.
Kids are crazy, and like this is college grade, so it's not like too bad, but kids are still crazy. So what if he just like accidentally gets mad and hulks out?
Right. Yeah. I mean that can happen. Obviously, he's a lot more control. I've been seeing some theories of like how long has Hulk been suppressed at this point? Is the Hulk gonna be mad that like he's been kind of on the back burner for maybe the better part of a decade? Like he'll let the Hulk out, but more so like the Banner Hulk, the combined that we saw in Endgame. But there's still a rage. I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around that we're gonna see Joe Fixit in this movie, where the original Gray Hulk.
That would there's so many different things that we like, and then we're going to get into it too, but there are so many different things that they could pull into this that it's really hard to say like which one that they're actually going to pull in.
Right. And it's hard to say because I don't think this is at MIT at all. I know Pierre's wearing the generic Marvel University New York University sweater, and the name of it is escaping me right now. But it's like, would Banner be teaching at like co- community college level, or would he be teaching MIT? You know, is he just trying to get a job in general? There's a lot to consider here, but I don't believe Peter goes to MIT at all in this universe.
Yeah. And actually, I'm going to go back just a couple seconds here because,
Oh, we may be looking at a version of Superior if they're going to be using superior strength, superior mobility.
yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to pause.
Yeah, but this also could be another hint at mutant evolution, because Peter himself has not really been a mutant before, and I know that's driven in the comics and some of the animated shows. That's driven a wedge between him and the X-Men, where like he's not really allowed to be a part of them because he's not technically a mutant.
Yeah, his happened by a radioactive spider, whereas theirs is actual mutation.
Right, but there is a possibility that he had a latent mutant gene in him that was ultimately, overridden and affected by the spider bite. As to keep saying it, he's going through a metamorphosis,
Right.
and it's going to be very dangerous for him because I think the more he leans into this superiority and this enhancement that he's going through, the less and less of Peter and the less and less of his humanity are going to be in, like they're just fading.
I was trying to go back into that little section there because I also wanted to see if we could see any like idea as to who is doing this scan of him, like one of the theories that we had in the future.
Right. There is something, and I saw this in another thing I was watching earlier. It does say like
Yeah, Ramirez.
Agent Ramirez, who is a character in Marvel. Dolores Ramirez is an agent of the CIA and works for part of X Desk. So this might be something with the Department of Damage Control, because I don't know if Bruce would have the ability to do all this like from his university office.
Right, but there is the possibility that the other person that we were talking about could possibly.
Right, right. We'll get into that. I cannot wait to talk about that more.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the next 30 seconds here. But it is cool to see that they also have Superior in there twice. Okay, so there is a lot to unpack in this next part as well.
Yes, there's a lot to unpack, a lot to process. We can start a little bit, Bruce, which another thing that I saw in another breakdown before, he never really interacted with Peter before.
Yeah, no, that was Tony Stark's little buddy.
So it's a little funny. He's like, "Who are you?" But talking about like, yeah, no, that's like this could be very dangerous, going through all this enhancement. So like, clearly Peter feels safe opening up to Dr. Banner about some stuff, but he might not be fully opening up about it, or it just could be a theory thing that he's talking to Banner about. The trailer is cut very specifically, and I like what they're doing, but they could be doing a little magic here.
Yeah, it's very much so. I think that he would open up just a little bit, maybe not to give him the full, like, I am Spider Man, but like talking to him about said, like, is there a possibility that things could mutate and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Which then brings us to the voice that we hear and the conversation that is said. And there are two theories. You brought both of these theories up, and my favorite one, of course, is the first one you brought up, but the second one also, it makes a little bit more sense. But we are talking about,
Keith David.
yeah, him.
Yeah.
Talking about him possibly being either one, Norman Osborn, or two, Professor X in this universe.
I after watching the trailer probably about a dozen times the day that it came out, I was just kind of thinking. It's very hard to hide Keith David's voice. He's a very prominent actor, both physical and voice. The trailer is cut so specifically that one, they don't show us what Keith David looks like, and two, they're not giving us a name. He is not in any of the casting sheets, just that he is appearing in the movie and he's quote unquote narrating this trailer. I hope that's not a cop out saying that he is a narrator of the movie, because that would feel a little off as to how the entire movie has, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been so far. But and there's a lot of theories that he's playing this universe is Dr. Connors, or he's playing the Jackal, or he's even playing the Spider Slayer, stuff like that. Imagine, if you will, a scientific mind such as the voice that is talking about spiders going through life cycles. This is a person who knows a lot about the science of spiders, specifically more animals. He's older, wizened. Imagine him playing this universe's version of Dr. Norman Osborn, maybe not even going by that name wherever Peter is having an interaction with him, but slowly revealing over the course of the movie and maybe even the next one that he's insane. And actually, this universe's version of the Green Goblin, which Peter already has a little snippet of.
Very much so from the last movie, and we got like Willem Dafoe, uh, Norman Osborn from that one.
Yeah, reprising. Yeah, yeah. But if anybody's been around on the internet for a while, you've seen Keith David and the range that he can do. He can do wise. He can do solemn. He can do comedy. He can do crazy.
It would be phenomenal.
It would be beautiful, beautiful icing or cherry on top of the cake with everything, especially if maybe like a late stage reveal. There's a lot of villains in this trailer, and we'll get into that, especially in the final bit. But that also is kind of leading into like, there's somebody behind all these villains that Peter's had to fight over the years, and why they're just so prominently keeping up. And also kind of maybe why Spider-Man's main rogues galleries are always based around animal themed things, or mostly predominantly based around animal themed things. And then I had another idea of, we're potentially getting some X-Men stuff in here. We know Sadie Sink is in this, and we've seen little snippets of who we think her character is. There's definitely some mind control going on. There's a lot of talks about Jean Grey, even Typhoid Mary. I know there's another bevy of potential characters that she could be, but they're keeping her under wraps very specifically as well. It would be insane if Peter does go to another institute or university and Keith David is, surprise, surprise, Charles Xavier, who is also very wise and very astute in the evolutionary process of not only humans, mutants, but also he would come to believe that he would know about the evolutionary process of even animals and arachnids. It's a stretch. I fully admit that is a stretch, but I like going off of they're intentionally keeping this from us. What is the last thing that anybody else is talking about right now?
Yeah. Is it a stretch though? Because if you have Sadie in this, she's got her red hair, and the big thing is like, especially in this part of the trailer, you see somebody that someone's trying to hold back, and you see her, like, it has to be her doing like a little orchestration inside of an office. So like,
There's cameras there. There's that. It's clearly some kind of like set or prison. It's almost like when Cap woke up in modern day, the end
right.
of the first Captain America, where it's like a little set. So I don't know if that's something that they've got going on. We do see finally who is in the tank that they're chasing, that him and Punisher are chasing earlier in the trailer, and it's just a civilian who is clearly under mind control. And you see that mind control jump over to the police members or the SWAT members, and then it jumps again. Like this is some kind of power where it requires jumping, or there's like only so far of a distance that you can do it before you jump to another host or something. Like there's a
Right.
trail here, and it's either somebody very powerful or potentially somebody very amateurish, depending on the perspective that they're putting in here.
Right. And Sadie is a younger girl, so it's depending on how we're going to do this, because if she is going to be Jean Grey, which version of Jean Grey? Because I know that it might not be the same thing here, especially because it is different universes. But like with the trailers that we've been seeing here recently for the Doomsday movie, there's Scott Summers. He is his older version from like the very original X-Men movies, and there was already a Jean in that.
He's very clearly lost. Yeah, he's very clearly lost a lot in that universe.
So then it wouldn't make sense for her to be the Jean from that universe, but it could be this universe's, like, but even though it's a very bad mix, because I know whenever the Age of Ultron came out, they said that they weren't going to do mutants in this world. They were going to just say that they were enhanced some way, somehow. So you have,
Right.
like, the Scarlet Witch, and you had Quicksilver, who were clearly
And they were
mutants, but they were not.
enhanced individuals.
Right.
Yeah. And that was definitely before the Fox deal had finalized. That was still when they were still keeping separate, and they were trying to diversify. Even the comics were getting like they were like retconning Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch out of the comics to like be their own separate kind of thing. Even the Fantastic Four, when some other events went down, were just like in a different pocket universe and not really existing in the comics.
Right.
We can all agree comics are weird. A lot of crazy stuff happens, but
Comics are weird.
yeah, but we love them.
Yeah. But it's like she could be the Jean Grey in this universe, and I mean they very well could just like rewrite that and just say like, no, that doesn't exist. Mutants do exist here, and here is the start of them. But as much as I love the Norman Osborn theory, I think that would be phenomenal, especially with him being the Green Goblin. But I also really like him as the idea of Professor X because if that is Jean Grey or the other version of Jean Grey, then that would make more sense that he would also go to him to get that information because before Professor X was Professor X with his School of Gifted Children, he studied genetics and mutations and evolution and things like that. So if Peter is having these really big problems, who better to go to than Professor Xavier?
Right. And we've already gotten our fair share of sprinkles with mutants. I mean, you've got the whole Deadpool and Wolverine movie, which kind of briefly crossed into Marvel Cinematic stuff, but not fully. They've already kind of hinted with Kamala Khan being a mutant. If anybody actually watched through all of Miss Marvel, they had that little tease at the end, and it's like, oh, it's a mutation, and then they play the da-na-na-na-na-na theme. Um, there's been sprinkles, but I think with this being kind of like not the book end of the current phase that we're in, but they're talking about the next saga is officially the mutant saga. They need to be sprinkling in a little bit more here and there. So I am fully on board until we are told otherwise that Sadie Sink is playing a version of Jean Grey that might be already being affected by the Phoenix Force, and Peter needs to play his cards right on how this is going, so that way, she becomes, you know, Jean Grey and not the Phoenix or the Dark Phoenix. It might be a struggle that we're dealing with. Again, there's a lot to juggle here. We haven't even talked about Mac Gargan showing up in this brief stint of in full Scorpion gear. It's good seeing him come back.
Yeah, that, and it looks so good. It looks so good.
It does. We've been told it's a prominent role. I highly doubt they would bring him back just to be, a run of the mill villain, kind of like we're going to see here later in the trailer.
Yeah, one of the small things that we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Scorpion, he's pretty prominent. I mean, he becomes Venom at one point in time,
Hmm.
and I mean, it's definitely going to be one of those fights in the movie where Peter is probably at a struggling point. I mean, that might even be the fight that pushes him into cocooning and metamorphosizing. He might get pierced through
Right.
by the scorpion tail, and that like puts him really out of it. And then he, suddenly wakes up next morning in a cocoon on his roof.
But there's far too many, and again, once we get to the very last part of this trailer, there's far too many things that are happening in this.
Yeah,
But as we discussed, he's got that 4 year gap. So there's a lot of things that are getting thrown.
yeah. How much of this is montage, like catching us up? How much of this is actually
Hmm.
relevant to the movie? Like the overarching story of the movie. Yeah, we got a little bit more to go, and then we can fully discuss. Always got to cap it with the Marvel comedy. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Please do not roast me. That I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It definitely helps keep the tone of the movie paced, or most of these movies paced. But yeah, no, just the specific talk about Rebirth. We see homages to old Spider-Man covers showcasing Boomerang and Tarantula, and we officially have confirmation that the Hand is back, or maybe they never really went away because we don't know how much of the Netflix series are canonical or not. Peter is very clearly still going through his evolution here. His webbing is now officially strong enough to break steel. He It is interesting that shot of the Hand, like the ninjas, like they're in a prison. Spider-Man's on his knees, his mask is off. It's definitely very much like, okay, we're here at a climax of a fight, and I think they're trying to say that this is going to be like the final fight or something like that. I think this is an intermediate part of the movie.
That might be like where it shows him actually like figuring out that he's changing.
Right, like just a true showcase of him relying on that strength a little bit more so than he wants to,
Right.
which is it's a struggle that he's going to be doing. How much of Man Spider are we going to get in this by the end of it? And then there's always the elephant in the room of, hey, this looks like some clever Marvel trailer cutting some people out of a shot. That's been talked to death about on the internet. already in the brief amount of time that this has been out. We can assume that we could get Daredevil in that. That could be Hulk teaming up alongside him. There could be even a whole thing of Defenders that he's teaming up with. We don't know for certain. But if the Hand is in this movie, then we kind of get Daredevil by default. Fingers crossed.
There, no matter what happens, I don't care if it's in the Daredevil show for season 2, you're going to get Spider-Man, or in the Spider-Man movie, you're going to get Daredevil. Because if you're going to bring the Hand in, it's going to be Daredevil. That's
Yep.
his thing. So one way or the other, you are going to get Spider-Man. And I will say this now that we have seen this entire trailer. I said this from the very beginning after the first time that I watched it. I love Tobey Maguire. I love Andrew Garfield. This is the first Spider-Man movie that I feel like is a Spider-Man movie because you are getting the streets of Spider-Man. It feels very much like you are in the home of Spider-Man and see his life on a day-to-day basis because you're seeing the Punisher. Hopefully you're going to be seeing Daredevil. You've got like Tombstone has been confirmed. You got Scorpion and all this. There's so many different layers of this
Yeah.
happening. It finally feels like a fleshed out world enough to say this is Manhattan, this is Queens, this is Hell's Kitchen. Like it's all here.
Yeah, and it is overwhelming to a sense. Like there is a lot going on in this movie, and please don't let this be Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 too many villains, too many cooks situation. I honestly believe that those shots of like the cover homages there are just literally montage shots of him performing as Spider-Man. It could even be him getting shots set up to start sending to the Daily
Right.
Bugle. We don't know how he's staying afloat right now. So there's a possibility that he'll be sending in stuff to the Daily Bugle and, very um, podcast style J. Jonah Jameson, who we know exists thanks to the previous movie.
If they don't get J.K. Simmons to play Jameson, like I will riot in the streets because it's kind of like Wolverine. There's only one person.
I'm gonna hold my tongue on that. I have specific opinions. I love Hugh Jackman. I do not think he was the perfect fit for Wolverine back in the day, but here we are 20 something years later. We already know J.K. Simmons has played J. Jonah Jameson in the past and in the previous Spider-Man movie. So like we know he's there and we know he has his little, Alex Jones-esque setup for this version, which is hilarious and perfect. Um, but no, it's clear they're doing a lot here to show us a lot. Show where Peter is and why he's going through what he's going through. We get the little, like there's clearly going to be a little bit more with him and the Punisher, where the Punisher's like, "Hey man, if the Punisher is telling you that you're losing it, you better listen."
It's like, hey, you might be going a little off.
He admits that he's insane. The Punisher admits that he is a bad guy doing bad things to bad people.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like even in the comics, the Punisher has always respected, like he respects Captain America so much, and he knows that he is a letdown to Captain America, like as a person because of what he does. But like it's his mission, and it's his to die in one day when he ultimately can't make it anymore. The last little bit goes by so fast, and they really do hang on the hand a lot there. So they're really trying to push that that's a big part of it. Another bit that I meant to bring up earlier was we get the scene kind of towards the middle of the trailer where you see some water just simply dropping into a bucket from a pipe, and then immediately the next shot is Peter holding his head in pain because obviously we said he's enhancing every part of him is enhancing, including his senses. Who better to train Peter on training his senses than Matt Murdock?
100%. And in the comics, they are a very close group. We've already talked about it in when we talked about the breakdown of season 2 for Daredevil, but like they are very close in the comics. So like they're both up on the rooftops. They're both doing whatever needs to be done out there on the streets. They're gonna run into each other at some point in time. So like if the Hand is here,
Yeah, especially after if Matt is successful in getting rid of the vigilante anti task force, which clearly he is, if there's all this crazy super villains and superheroes all over New York, like clearly that this is showing us a little bit of a tease of what's going to be happening after Daredevil, at least in a potential perspective. They're gonna run into each other, like just like you said, like they're gonna train each other on how and show each other a couple different ways of things that like how they operate and somebody that they can confide in. I really do think in the coming weeks, as we get more episodes of Daredevil, we're gonna get those snippets of Spider-Man, doing a lot of this. He's been busy, maybe a little too busy.
Yeah, well, and especially with like Daredevil season 2, he says he's going to be building an army. What if one of the scenes that you see is him like training Spider-Man to be a part of his little group, but like too much shit is going on in Spider-Man's life, so he's like, "Hey, man, I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore."
Also, heck, who's to say that Matt doesn't turn and becomes the leader of the Hand like he has in the past?
Very true. In the comics, he does actually turn into that.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole demonic possession kind of thing, but I mean he was bred specifically to lead the Hand at one point in time. They could be adapting that, and maybe Peter's like, I gotta break him out of this or something. We're definitely they're pushing a lot of villains. I don't think we're getting a Sinister Six thing. Sony really needed to back away from that, and I think this is at least a good step. I have not seen all of the Sony Spider-Verse movies, and I'm talking the live action ones. I have seen Venom 1, and that's about as much as I needed. So I'm trying to compile thoughts here. There's just too much to process.
It's true. There's so much that goes on in these trailers, and especially with like the very last 40 seconds that we just watched, you've got like. I also think that the little room that they have Sadie's character in, it's like you said, it is a lot like the whole Captain America thing where they kind of geared it up to look something, and it looks like for her it is a very old school looking room, but it looks like if you could just take a little bit of snippet of that, it kind of does look like what her room would be like if she were back in like Xavier's mansion, because it's got that wood and everything, all those dark colors.
Potentially, yeah. One thing that I was going to bring up, and I think I brought this up in the Daredevil discussion, but we have confirmation of Tombstone, who we know in Marvel Comics is most commonly a mob boss. I definitively think that Fisk's criminal empire has crumbled, and all of these other supervillains are acting up within the times of all this happening because Fisk is no longer running the criminal underworld. I don't think Fisk is gone, but he has definitely been uprooted from power. He might even be in the raft by the end of Daredevil season 2, as far as we know, depending on what goes on. But like that would be an explanation as to why there's so much like more super criminal activity going on during this time.
And then another little bit that it doesn't, it's not like a huge thing, it's a very, very short amount of time, but you do see him talking to MJ on the rooftop. And it's in the
as Spider-Man.
As Spider-Man, yes, at the dead of night. So there's still going to be some things here and there with them, and there's just so much that like that could be done in this movie, and it's like, what are we going to focus on? What things are going to be like the montage? What things are going to be the things that stick and actually are the main part of the movie?
Yeah. How much does MJ slowly remember as Peter kind of creepily stalks her and Ned? I mean, I get it.
I want to be friends.
Yeah, like they are my friends. They just don't remember it.
Yeah, this is pure like, it's changed now since it's been out for a couple of days, but whenever I first clicked on that trailer, I thought it was funny as heck that like one of the first comments, like the top comment that was on there, it was just like, why is my boy so sad? Like he's having like the shit kicked out of him. It's like,
bro, do you know Peter Parker?
Yeah, like do you realize Peter Parker?
For the meme, no, nobody knows who Peter Parker is anymore.
Well, yeah, but like he is the saddest boy, and the one that's like, my favorite character is Bucky Barnes. He's been through some shit, but like it's a whole different thing for Peter, because he's choosing, but he's not choosing to do this, because he is choosing to be a hero, and he puts himself through these things, and these things happen, but like he does it for the greater good, and he will continue to do it no matter how bad it gets.
Yeah, at the expense of his own personal life, because deep down he knows what's best, and usually, unfortunately, what's best for everyone else is for Peter to go by the wayside.
Yeah, And it's one of my like I the Fear Itself comics when they came out, like that was roughly whenever I stopped reading for the longest time. They weren't the best of comics, and I was not a big fan of that series, but the only one that I continued to buy and read was the Spider-Man series for it, because there was like I think it was in comic number 4 or number 3 for the run. He is down in the subway, and he gets the ever loving shit kicked out of him. He's the only line of defense, and he gets like buried under things. And he has this moment where he has basically a breakdown where he's just like, this is it. Like, no one's going to save me. No one's here for me. Like, I am always alone. And then next thing you know, there's like a hand that reaches out and actually tries to help him out of the rubble. And it's just like Spider Man gets the living shit kicked out of him constantly. And he's usually alone every single time.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he's just truly one of the most tragic characters. But again, why I mentioned earlier in the discussion, like he is just the true definition of superhero because he doesn't. I mean, yeah, he'll give up and back down, for his own. He's got to have some mental health days here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately he is putting his personality and his personal life to the side for the greater
Yeah.
good.
A true superhero in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, and another thing, I mean, it's kind of going back to Superior Spider-Man when Otto Octavius was running Spider-Man's body, they did the whole their mind swap thing. Um, Doc Ock realized how much Peter was holding back in their fights, and
Mm-hmm.
he realized
Yep.
just how strong Spider-Man truly is. Like Spider-Man could potentially take down the entire Marvel universe if he put himself to it. Um,
Yeah.
but he chooses not to because that's not going to help anybody.
Right. It's he's got to pull his punches at some point because like going all for it is not gonna like do anybody any good as long as it gets the job done kind of thing. And like we see that kind of in the
Yeah,
MCU because you got this little teeny tiny kid in blue and red spandex whenever Civil War happened, and like Captain America is trying to be like, oh, that you gotta give up, kid. Like this, you're not on the right side. And he actually like webs Captain America up and sets him off to the side. And when he goes, like when Bucky goes to punch him, he grabs the metal arm with one hand. He's like, "Oh, that's so super cool!" And Bucky's like, "What the fuck?" Like this little kid.
yeah. Like I put all of my energy into that, and this kid is treating it like it's
Yeah,
nothing, and
grabs
it's
it
just
by
like a
one
toy.
hand. He's like, "It's so super cool," and he's like, "Well, just whatever, I guess."
I have been humbled.
I've been majorly humbled. So that is the breakdown of the trailer that we have seen. It's the first one that has come out. I'm sure there will be at least one or two more in the future before it comes out, but it comes out July 31st. So,
Yeah, not too much further
it's,
away. Little
yeah, most definitely not too much farther.
Yeah, 4 months from when we're recording this. And apologies if we went on too many tangents or too many, crackpot theories here. This truly just nerding out about a very, very hype thing coming out very, very soon.
Spider Man. Everybody hypes it about Spider Man.
Spider-Man.
Spider Man. All right. Well, that is going to do for this little tidbit. We wanted to get this out of our system because it's been like an explosion inside of my brain. I don't know about you, of wanting to get this all out there and talk about like the theories of this Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, as accurate or completely inaccurate as they may be.
I hope that they're not, because I like it just from 4 months from today, when everyone is sitting in this place trying to watch this movie and see what's going on, I will scream at the top of my lungs, called it, if he becomes Norman
Yeah,
Osborn. And that is like when you like, as I told Matt before we started this whole thing, I was standing in my office, and when he mentioned that to me, I literally went gremlin mode and was just like ready to explode because I was like, that is the best theory I've heard so far, and that sounds phenomenal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, I mostly kind of came up with it of just what is the thing that they wouldn't expect us to think based off of the
Right.
context clues that we're given, but what also could be plausible. But hey, that's more to discuss in the comments or in future discussions down the road.
truth. Well, thank you everybody for listening in on this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that all of you will enjoy the future comings of what Daredevil and what Spider-Man comes out, and see who was right and who was wrong. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.